we've come to the middle of the current week, the 10th of July. It's a Wednesday. Welcome everyone to your Frontier Opening Bell. Just give you a sense of how markets in the top headlines are within the African sub-region. So that's what the show is just simply all about. And if you can read the tea leaves, you can see the Nigerian stock market bucked below the 100,000 level yesterday. Investors priced some of the biggest banks lower. FBN Holdings, GISCO, announced its public offer on Monday, $9 billion shares. FBN Holdings was down, the parent company of First Bank of Nigeria, and as well as EcoBank Transnational Incorporated, of course, which is listed on Lagos, Accra, and the Abidjan exchanges. We saw a few gains in the consumer goods space with Dangote Sugar and industrial goods by Lafarge Africa, but those gains were not strong enough to offset the weight of the banks and the financial services segment of the Nigerian book. So that's where we finished off Monday or Tuesday, by the way. The Naira also continued this Monday declines as we started. The new week fell about 0.6%. Yesterday at 1,532 on the US dollar. The Naira continued to depreciate steadily on the American greenback. But that's the story there. Let's just get on to see the West African BRVM down by 0.1%. That's the composite 229.73. The EGX in Egypt came back into positive territory, 0.19%. The Nairobi stock market eked out just 2 basis points, while the Johannesburg market was down by almost 0.25%, around 80,620. So I'm taking you straight to East Africa and grab a couple of headlines. And let's start with Ethiopia. Of course, that's where the central bank, the National Bank of Ethiopia, announced a new monetary policy framework, which includes its interest rates and inflation direction. That's what is being discussed. If you go online, you've got to see what the comments are. In fact, as far as the interest rate direction is concerned, it looks like the national banks want to leave interest rate decision for commercial banks and all of that. Why just hold on the monetary policy rate as it were? But it's a new monetary policy framework, briefing everyone in the room and doing business. This is one new framework, just as Ethiopia announced that is allowing foreign banks and other lenders to step into the biggest economy in the Horn of Africa to do business. Part of the reforms of markets and economy under Prime Minister Abiy's administration. Let's get on. Moody's cutting Kenya into further junk territory to start a new week of a CAA1. That's the latest brush that Kenya is taking from Moody's, one of the world's top 3 rating agencies, on the back of his latest Finance Act rebellion that came from Kenyans throwing out President Ruto's Finance Act for 2024 and asking the president and his team and others to get back to the drawing board. Let's see how things move on from here. It's a tough time right now for President Ruto. The shillings, however, has made some gains, which cuts Kenya's external debt by $926 billion US dollars. In the meantime, Nairobi has hit Uganda with a fresh hurdle on fuel imports. The landlocked country of Uganda imports the chunk of its fuel, petrol, diesel from Kenya via Mombasa port. Now, Kenya has added some extra levy on Vitol terminal that will be distributing this fuel into Uganda. In the meantime, the UNDP, the African Union, and other private sector investors are looking to put $1 billion fund together to open hubs of technology across the African continent. It's part of the African Union's agenda to enthrone technology across the digital transformation of the African continent under that umbrella. And we're getting the support of the UNDP. Thank you to everyone. Let's move on. Checking with Nigeria and West Africa and the rest of the countries within the region with the Global Food Agency, the FAO, reporting that food prices were steady in June. Cereal production hit the highest high. You can read up the rest of that data. In the meantime, Access Bank, Nigeria's largest bank, says is looking at that has done about $1.2 billion in global expansion since 2002, and is looking to see its UK's standalone subsidiary bringing $1 billion US dollars in profit by the year 2027. Part of the announcements and briefing we got yesterday from Access Bank Group Managing Director, that's Roosevelt Ogbonna, speaking to investors at the Nigerian exchange. And Cocoa Board of Ghana reporting for last year about 2.5 billion profit in cities for the year under review. In the meantime, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers in the country says they want lower fuel taxes, which is around 22.9% as we speak. They're asking the Nana Akufo-Addo's administration to lower that levy. And finally, Morocco and Niger Republic, north of Nigeria's borders, is looking to promote bilateral cooperation in the field of transportation. Those are your headlines west of the continent. Let's take it down south. Check in with me some of the biggest headlines from South Africa and the rest of the economies within that region. Zambia says it wants to build coal power plants as a harsh drought hits the dams in the country. You know, the El Nino impact that Zambia is walking through right now. Very tough time for President Hichilema's administration. And foreign investors say that they are already binging on South African bonds in the wake of the outcome of the recent elections. They saw President Ramaphosa continue in office, but under a unity form of government. And South African rand is being stable as markets are waiting interest rate decision by the SARB in the next couple of days. And 88 Energy commences acquisition program that's in Namibia, also in Southern Africa, while Zimbabwe's Bank ABC is reporting 81% jump in its loan book for the first quarter of this year. Let's take on a few headlines north of the continent with Saudi fintech firm Ethiopia announcing expansion into Morocco. That's deepening fintech provision and services within that particular region. In the meantime, Eagles Development says it's launched £2 billion Egyptian pounds project in Sheikh Zayed city, while net international reserves for North Africa's biggest economy was $46.38 billion by the end of June, and that's according to the Central Bank of Egypt. And finally, Egypt is exporting exports to international blocks globally stood at $42 billion for the full year 2023. And those were the headlines that we've got put together for you this Wednesday. Keep an eye on all our shows, and you can watch the show again online if you go to www.frontierafricareports.com or on our YouTube at Frontier Africa Reports. Follow us on social media platforms. Have a great day, everyone, and bye for now.